Welcome to LDS Teaching Toolbox, where I am excited to share with you how to make the Old Testament much less confusing in about 7 minutes. I call it the Old Testament timeline. It's something that a fellow teacher shared with me years ago. I've shared with probably thousands of my students. Hope it's helpful for you. We're going to start with the beginning, because in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, and we have the fall. Notice 2 bites out of the apple. And we have the flood, the Tower of Babel, and then we're introduced to 3 great men: Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and his son Joseph, who was sold into Egypt, where he became second only to the Pharaoh. And unfortunately, there was another Pharaoh who was raised up who knew not Joseph, so those 12 tribes were put into bondage for about 400 years, until a prophet by the name of Moses was raised up by God, came part of the Red Sea, took the people out of Egypt, where he introduced to them the higher law. They rejected that, so they received the 10 commandments. They still struggled, so they had to wander for 40 years in the wilderness, but became a righteous people. And so righteous, in fact, that as they walked through Jordan River, it parted and they walked through on dry ground. They went to attack their first city, the city of Jericho, surrounded it as the walls came tumbling down. Then we have the period of time called the Judges. During that time, we don't have any kings, but later the people wanted kings so they could be like everybody else. So the Lord had Samuel anoint Saul to be the first king of Israel. Then we have David. Then we have Solomon. Then we have Solomon's son, Rehoboam, who was anointed to be king. He struggled just a little bit, and when the people came to him and they said, your father really put a heavy tax on us. If you'll back off on the taxes, we will serve you forever. Rehoboam wasn't very smart. He said basically, if you think my father taxed you, wait till you see what I do. That causes a split in the kingdom. 10 of the tribes, they identify themselves as Israel, or the northern kingdom. They appoint a different king. They appoint Jeroboam to be the king. Meanwhile, Rehoboam is left with only 2 tribes, Judah and Benjamin, where he is king over the southern tribes, or the kingdom of Judah, where Rehoboam is the king over just those 2 tribes. Well, the northern tribes struggle the most. They have no temple. They have wicked kings, so they fall into apostasy. And despite the warnings of the prophets, God always sends prophets. They are taken into captivity by the Assyrians in about 721 BC. And what happens then, we don't know. We lose the biblical account of them, whether they escape, whether they're let go. We don't know. So we call them the lost 10 tribes. Meanwhile, these people last a little bit longer, the southern kingdom, the kingdom of Judah, but eventually they ignore the warnings of prophets like Jeremiah and Lehi, and they are taken into captivity by the Babylonians in about 600 BC. But through the inspiration of God, King Cyrus allows many of those people to return, where we're introduced to 3 great men, Z-E-N, 3 great men. Zerubbabel rebuilds the temple. Ezra rebuilds the people by teaching them the law of God, and Nehemiah rebuilds the wall of Jerusalem. Then you have 400 more years and Jesus is born. Well, we've got these slides for you down in the description below that you can download and show them to your own family or class. But you might be asking the question, so what? What difference does that make? It's just history, right? Is it just names and faces, people and places? No. These are major players in our lives today. Don't believe that? Check your patriarchal blessing. In fact, we have a great video on that and about how those relate to your patriarchal blessing and the significance. And you can find that video right there in that link right there. Also, I don't think you can fully understand what President Nelson was talking about when he's put such emphasis on the gathering of Israel on both sides of the veil. How do we understand the gathering? unless we first understand the scattering, where they went, why they were scattered, the Lord's purpose in gathering them back again. Those are all wonderful topics that are given us greater understanding as we have better understanding of the Old Testament. Most important of all is what the main message of the Old Testament is found in pointing its way to Jesus Christ and His gospel, the coming Messiah, and what He was going to do for all of us in bringing about the great atonement. The Old Testament has had plain and precious things taken away from it, but it's still filled with a plethora of types and shadows of Jesus Christ throughout. Watch for those, because it testifies in so many different ways of Jesus Christ. The better we understand the Old Testament, the better we will understand and appreciate the love of our Heavenly Father in sending His Son, Jesus Christ, to redeem us. Well, I hope that was helpful for you. This is the original that my friend Margot Butler shared with so many of us years ago. We've got that in a printable form down below, a PDF that you can print it, smaller version that you can put in your scriptures. I hope that will be helpful in a better understanding of these wonderful people of the Old Testament. And hope you'll watch for next time when we've got a little video to show you how the Old Testament books are not in chronological order. And we've got a little device we're going to share with you then too, where we've put them in their chronological order. It makes it a little better to understand of who goes where, when. Hope to see you then. Thanks for watching.